Hi, thank you so much for giving us your time today. By the way, my name is Stephanie Macalino. I am currently a student at Lyceum of the Philippines, Laguna Campus. So this interview is part of our course requirement in Purposive Communication, where we need to talk to a foreign national who has lived in the Philippines for at least 1 to 2 years. The purpose of this interview is to understand your experiences in terms of languages, Filipino hospitality, and cultural adjustments. Everything you share will just be used for academic purposes, and there are no right or wrong answers. So before we begin, can you please introduce yourself?
Hello, my name is Frank E. Dickinson III, but you can just call me Frankie, and I am a second year student at Lechan Calamba, major in marketing.
Thank you. When did you first come to the Philippines?
I first came here in 2016 for vacation.
What was the reason you decided to stay here?
I decided to stay here for studying and so I can experience the Philippines more since I really enjoyed it when I came here for vacation in the past.
How long have you been living in the Philippines?
I've been living here since 2023, October 2023.
What was your first impression of the country when you arrived?
My first impression was that it's really hot and there's a lot of traffic, but the people are really nice. So it was very easy for me to feel welcomed here and I really enjoy it. And there's so many things to do also.
Thank you.
So for our first objective, it is to identify the language barriers experienced by the foreign national here in the Philippines. So for the first question, what languages do you usually use while staying here in the Philippines?
I usually use English and a little bit of Tagalog.
So you adapt na the language. And second question is, what were the most challenging situations for you because of language differences?
For me, the most challenging situations are usually when I try to ask for directions or when I'm trying to commute to certain places.
That's a common differences here in the Philippines. So, third question, did the language barrier ever affect your ability to make friends or connect with the locals?
Yes and no, because I think that sometimes it can be hard to connect with locals, but usually since I go to school here, I'm surrounded by people in my that are mostly in my generation, and most of them speak English or can at least understand English, so I find no problem making friends.
That's nice. What tools or strategies like apps, translation, or gestures help you in communicating?
My favorite tool to use is actually ChatGPT because it knows all the slangs and abbreviations, and sometimes it even helps me commute to places.
For the last question, in your opinion, how can the Philippines improve in helping foreigners overcome language barriers?
Actually, my opinion would be that foreigners should actually learn Tagalog instead, since this isn't their country, so they shouldn't feel entitled to making Filipinos learn English just for them. But also, I think the Philippines is actively overcoming language barriers since I've seen that many children here already mostly speak English or sometimes only speak English. So, yes.
Thank you.
Our second objective, which is to evaluate the impact of Filipino hospitality and openness on the foreign nationals' communication experience. My first question is, how did Filipinos make you feel welcome during your stay? Can you share a memorable experience?
A memorable experience for me was actually my first day at school at Letran Calamba because I was lost, but I was too scared to ask anyone. But a girl approached me and asked what course I was in, and we figured out we were in the same course. And throughout the day, she guided me everywhere and helped me get used to my surroundings. And now we are best friends, actually.
Question is, did the friendliness or helpfulness of Filipinos make it easier for you to overcome communication barriers?
Yes, definitely. Because they're very friendly and open to helping me when I'm trying to communicate with them.
Um, in your opinion, In your opinion, how different is Filipino hospitality compared to what you've experienced in your home country?
Overall, I think Filipinos are much more hospitable than many Americans. As a foreigner, they don't force you to learn Tagalog or insult you for not knowing it as well. I probably could not say the same for the US, though.
Do you think Filipino openness encourage you to interact more with locals? Why or why not?
Yes, because I don't have any fear of being shamed or outcasted.
How would you describe the overall role of Filipino hospitality in shaping your daily communication?
For me, it makes me feel like I don't have to limit my daily communication due to a language barrier since I know that we can meet in the middle, or sometimes they go even further and meet me on my own side and try their hardest to communicate with me.
For our third objective, it is to analyze how cultural differences affected the foreign national adjustments in daily interactions. Now, for our first question, can you share a time when a cultural difference like indirect speech or gestures such as pagmamano, lip pointing, caused a misunderstanding? If so, how did you handle it?
Actually, I've never had any misunderstandings, but there were times where I was unsure of what to do. But the other party never showed any anger and would just kindly help me through the situation.
Well, that's how Filipino is. Next question. Were there Filipino habits like Filipino time, calling others ate or kuya, or jaywalking that felt strange to you at first? If so, how did you adjust?
Yes, in the US, I did say ma'am and sir, but usually it was directed to authority figures or older people that are not that close to my age. But here in the Philippines, I forget to say ate or kuya a lot of the times because it applies even when they're just 1 year older than you. While in the US, it's more unlikely for me to call someone who's 1 year older than me sir or ma'am. But there are certain circumstances still.
Next question is, when you first used public transport like jeepney, tricycle, or MRT, were there unspoken rules that confused you? How did you learn to adapt?
Definitely confusing on the Jeep because the one that confused me first was bayad po. I would always get confused at first and thought they were just handing me money. And then I realized I was supposed to pass it to the driver. But I learned to adapt through observing closely and also just through trial and error.
Thank you. Next is, have you ever struggled to understand Filipino humor, sarcasm, or slang, such as charot or eme? If so, how did that affect your conversations?
I didn't have any struggles understanding the sarcasm and slang, but the humor definitely flies over my head a lot of the time. Sometimes I awkwardly laugh, or then they have to explain the joke slowly. But honestly, that gives us more time to converse and a learning lesson for me.
Last question is, overall, how has learning Filipino cultural norms changed the way you interact with people? And can you share an example?
I always have to actively remember to use po or ate and kuya. For example, I'm a part of LSDC or Letran Street Dance Crew. And within our org, even though we are all close and friends, I always remind myself to use kuya or ate out of respect, especially as a junior that recently joined this year.
Thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
So, thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. It was a pleasure learning more about your background and experiences. We hope you enjoyed staying here in the Philippines. Thank you so much.
Bye.